This is Looks Good on Paper, a podcast from Willow about flipping the script on traditional hiring. I'm Ian Chohan, and every episode I put big voices in hiring and work culture through 3 quick-fire questions, speed dating style, to get the habits, trends, and ideas that matter. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of the Looks Good on Paper podcast, powered by Willow. Happy to have you here today, Noelle. You're the Senior Director of Onboarding and Business Operations at Remote.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit about you and your role in Remote, and how did you get here?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Anita, thank you so much for inviting me to join your podcast today. So like you said, my role at Remote is running our onboarding operations and business operations within our employer of record division. So for those of you who don't know what or who Remote is, we are a global HR company that is building the leading technology to hire, manage, and pay employees cliently, globally, and making it really seamless to do so. I joined the company in December of 2021 to do the employer of record services for companies who needed to quickly onboard and hire someone where they didn't have a local entity. You use an employer of record like us at Remote to be able to get that person working quickly and compliantly and pay them and all that good stuff. I've been in that same division since I started back almost 4 years ago now. Previously, I worked in like a senior executive capacity in B2B marketing and also content marketing. So I try and bring that marketing, creativity, and energy into my work as an operations professional. In my current capacity, I lead a team of over 100 specialists globally, and I have a variety of different operational divisions in EMEA and APAC, and our goal is really to make it easy for our customers to onboard someone within our platform and have a great service experience while doing so.
Wow, just 100 people around the world that you're taking care of every day. That's amazing. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. I've been watching what Remote's been doing for a while, and that's why I was really excited that you agreed to come on. All right, so you know the drill. 3 questions, speed, dating style, rapid fire, and why don't we jump right in? Number 1.
Perfect.
What is the biggest hiring mistake companies keep making, even though they know it's clearly not working?
Companies, I think, look around and they look at a general radius around their office and they're like, okay, this is how far I'm going to cast my net. And that's one strategy, but I think it's a strategy that doesn't pay off because it really doesn't unlock the opportunity for HR leaders, executives within the business to get a kind of caliber and quality of talent they would normally not have access to. So for me, that's the big thing, right? Like you really want to be thinking about how you can globalize your hiring strategy to attract candidates and to attract people to come into your business who are different, like career experience different, culturally different, just socioeconomically diversity different. Every year we produce a global workforce report at Remote that kind of gives look into like what's going on in the industry, right? We know that 73% of companies lost talent to other companies that offered more flexibility in their business within the last 6 months. We also know that 72% of companies have missed a key business goal related to like an expansion or a launch due to a talent shortage in the past 12 months. Yeah. And we also know that 74% are struggling to find more of that qualified talent locally. So I think if you're looking at your hiring strategy and you're just thinking, 10K, or we say kilometers here, but for global people, that's what I'm referring to. But, you're looking within a fixed kilometer radius, it doesn't really give you access to the potential of talent that you'd be able to have if you were to cast that wider net. And so remote hiring, flexible hiring is a really good option to do that. And then I would say the second part of that, which is like a kind of a tiny asterisk, but I still think it's really important, is when companies don't really have a clear enough understanding of what it means for their company values to be displayed in action from the people that are actually working on the team and not doing a good enough job in the hiring process to index against those values in action. Because it's one thing for a company to say like, oh yes, these are my values. But when you're actually hiring, you need to know what you want those values to look like, not just within the company, but within your division, within your team.
I think this is where your marketing brain is showing as well, the employer branding, and how does that actually express itself externally as well. This is something I look at a lot as I've in the past being a hiring manager, thinking about a lot of this stuff. Like I think like, what are you putting out there and what are you showing from a company perspective to also attract that talent, right? Is it clear that everyone's singing the same song? Like this type of stuff really does matter. And I'd be so interested to hear about your experience with that, given that you have so many people that you're in charge of.
Yeah, I think the big thing for us is like, we know we have 5 core values at remote. We have care, intensity, transparency, innovation, and excellence. So I know for a manager, they might have a different expectation for innovation than, somebody who is like a junior level, entry level person on the team. But the idea being is that if you are building a global workforce, you have to invest in a lot of that like cultural infrastructure, because it is the foundation that kind of sustains everything. Because if you are working with teams who come from culturally different backgrounds, everyone's workplace, depending on where they're raised, looks and feels different.
Yeah,
So for a company to have a really solid understanding in what those values in action mean, and the behaviors that those individuals in the organization need to display to like positively align to those values, that is sort of the glue that we use to keep things together, because remote doesn't have an office anywhere in the world, and we do it
crazy.
all remotely. So that's where
How?
that info, I know. Well, we have a lot of strategies on that, and our public handbook is actually available online. So if you go to remote.com, you can see exactly how we run our company. We don't want there to be any like secret, things that we're not sharing.
Yeah.
Because we believe that these strategies actually are really also applicable to companies who aren't necessarily totally remote or who may be hybrid as well. So, yeah, definitely check out our handbook online if you want to learn more about that.
Super cool. And I think that one thing I see across the board, and I was speaking earlier in the season to someone that runs the SMB division of Microsoft, Cree.
Okay.
He had said, it's the same kind of idea where it's like as long as you have those core values set, it creates that foundation then that can actually go across the world. So you
Yeah.
have to have that solid,
And it
right?
has to be integrated, right? Like you can't just have
Yeah.
it on your website and be like, these are our values. Boop, here they are. Like, no, they have to be built into your performance management frameworks. They have to be built into your promotion frameworks within the company. They have to be rewarded and incentivized. Yeah, values aren't just like set it and forget it either. They also shift and change as your organization grows. And we did that. Like when I first started with remote, a couple of our values were different, and we evolved as a company, and so did our values. So you really should think about, making sure that they can stand the test of time for a while, but that they aren't rigid enough that you can't ever go back to the drawing board if the needs of your business also shifts. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. And now on to number two. What's a
Yeah.
hidden bias companies unknowingly have even when they think they're being progressive in their hiring?
Yeah. So I would say this is especially a leadership bias that I see a lot in hiring is you have a top performer on your team and you look at their background, you look at their qualifications, and you think, okay, I'm just going to go to market and find those exact same qualifications and I'm going to get the same experience. I'm going to get the same result. And one of the things that you should not do is that, because realistically, even if your experiences are the same on a CV, how people interpret those experiences in real life are so different and so personal. And so this is where that element of diversity comes into play, and building teams that aren't necessarily geographically locked into a certain region, I think is massive. You want to have individuals on your team who think in different ways, who express their creativity in different ways, people who are new to the workplace, people who are older and have more tenure in the workplace, people who are neurodivergent and can bring different elements into the workplace as well. So I think sometimes you think if you see success within an organization, it can be like easily, control CV. Look, I just realized I made a CV pun, but anyways,
I know it was perfect.
yeah, you just can't expect that you look at a resume and that resume is exactly that profile that you're going to be getting moving forward. And so when we hire at remote, we really make sure that we don't have CV bias, because we look for individuals who have diverse experiences, and also people who don't have experience in the HR industry, who have career experience that lends itself in an HR capacity. But yeah, so we try and not lock ourselves into those kinds of situations. I mean, obviously, if we're hiring for a very technical role, like yeah, if you need to hire a coder, I'm not saying that you should go hire an artist, right? But yeah, what I'm saying is that CVs can't be copied and pasted, and you can't guarantee success based on those qualifications, because humans are more complex than that. And so this is where having that really strong understanding of your values and action within the business and what kind of behaviors and competencies you want your people to demonstrate really underpins, or should underpin, your hiring practice.
So it's really good you mentioned, how you guys hire at remote and what you're looking for, because this pulls us really nicely into the third question. If you were to suddenly remove CVs from your current hiring process, what would that look like?
Okay, so here's a little secret. We are already sort of doing this in a way at remote, because
I love it.
because we get We get actually over 35,000 applications every single
Stop.
month to
Stop.
join remote. So, as you can imagine, with a small recruiting team, even if they are small, even if they are big, quite frankly, for that number, that's a lot to manage and that's a lot to go through. And when we first started, we really screened every single CV. I remember when I joined the company, I think I was employee number 400 and building my team. I read every single CV and I was like, I want this person, I want that person. As the company grows, as it changes, we have that recruiting team, but you can't keep up really with 35,000 applications a
Too
month. So
hard.
one of the things that we've been piloting right now, which we've seen a lot of success in, is actually using agentic and generative AI to open up equity in our screening process so that every single person who does apply to one of our roles has an opportunity to go through a guided hiring process and actually have a discussion, although it's not with a human being, it's with an AI agent that we've trained in accordance with our values, again, that I was talking about, in accordance with the job specs, because we recognize, again, that looking at a CV doesn't exactly tell the whole story. So
Mm.
being able to kind of layer this in, number one, just from a scalability standpoint, it's been huge for us. But number two, it also gives an opportunity for us to have an overview of a candidate that considers the way they express themselves beyond just what's on a piece of paper.
We do know that there's like so many flaws that come with a CV. And I love hearing that a global, large, remote company is doing this already. I guess, yes, I understand out of necessity, but also that, you guys have also considered how can people in Canada show up in the best way possible. And we have a lot of guests who come in, and there's no clear answer to exactly how to remove the CV entirely. So, do you have the CV at some
We
point
do.
in it?
We
Okay.
definitely do. So we do have it as part of that application package. What we're using first, though, as like an index is like the score from the AI that's, again, taking a look at the different factors that we've built into it and we've trained it to kind of pick up on. And from there, if it's a positive match, what we get is that along with the CV package as well. And I think even up until I want to say about a year ago, all of our job descriptions still had nomenclature around like we're looking for like 3 to 5 years of experience and this sort of thing. We're getting rid of that language because we also don't feel that it's kind of progressive. So what we are trying to do as well in our job descriptions is sort of remove that real kind of like structure. Like these are all the sorts of things we're looking for. Again, there are exceptions to that, like highly technical roles or, roles in risk and our fraud divisions where we need particular credentials. I think making sure that employers as well are also using language that encourages applicants to feel as though they're not just going to be seen as like a kind of like a binary entry based on the number of
Mm.
years of experience they've had. So it goes both ways, right? Like if you want to ask candidates to open up and be, modern and progressive and shift, then also you have to do the same on the employer side. So
I
yeah.
really like that. That is such a good point, and I'm gonna pull it out when I'm doing the cuts for you because I love that. Because how can
Okay.
we expect as hiring managers of companies to attract the stellar, amazing unicorn talent when we're not even adapting for the times, right?
That's what it is. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that so much. I feel like a lot of people could learn from it. So because I do wonder, like, and this is a big problem, right, with the AI and like filtering at the very start. Do you guys worry about missing out on the right people at the
Of
very
course.
beginning? Yeah.
Of course we do, right? And so that's why, like anything, when you're trialing it, if we come and get back a score, we're not only looking at people who are scoring within that, like, 50th percentile. Things aren't advanced enough for that right now. We're still really testing and trialing. So like anything when it comes to AI, like what you put into it is what you're going to get out. And so we also don't blindly make decisions with AI. We use it as a guide. We use it as another tool in the toolbox that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is not for us like the big, robotic determiner of
Yeah.
things. So it's still
Yeah.
very much like an involved process on our end. And I say to everyone, if you aren't involved in hiring your talent, even at the most senior levels, if you don't have a pulse on, the kind of individuals that your managers are bringing on board, don't be surprised when like 3 months later, you're not necessarily seeing a fit. So I do
Fair.
think that when you are hiring, it is important that your entire leadership team is also aligned to those characteristics. And yeah, so involvement at the end of the day is so key. It is time consuming, but if you want the best people in your business, you also have to put in the work as the employer to do that.
Agreed. Absolutely. All right. And for our wild card, I would just like to hear,
Oh,
given, you guys do so much data, you do so much research, I know what you like you're in it. So what are some of your thoughts for trends coming for hiring for 2026?
right. So I think for me, a big trend that we're seeing right now is people who are generalists in their background. So I hear this being talked about a lot actually in the industry, which is people who don't necessarily have that archetypal or like typical role. Some people have career breaks. So I think individuals who come from different walks of life and have different experiences in different industries is also really popular right now. And then, of course, as well, global flexibility in hiring, which is what we're all about at Remote, is a massive trend for 2026. We know that a lot of companies are doing return to office mandates, and that does work for some organizations. And our thing, yes, we are a fully remote company, but we're also an HR company. So, our goal is to make the lives of HR professionals at any company easier. And so individuals who have those skill sets and who can really pull those out in terms of their resumes, those are the ones that are also going to stand out. And those are the types of skill sets we're looking for right now. So I would say like folks who are leaning heavy into the automation, people who have really varied, interesting backgrounds, and people who have work experience in different countries across different cultural contexts. It builds a lot of like emotional intelligence, a lot of career readiness. And demonstrates, oftentimes a different sense of like candidate maturity. So I would say for me, those are the top things that I'm thinking about, at least as a HR professional in 2026. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think like that's something we're seeing. And then also Willow has our hiring intelligence report that's coming out in December. And we are finding that too, that I think that one of the biggest trends is just being more thoughtful about hiring and about how you bring AI into the hiring process, right? So
Right.
but what I loved about what you said was the kind of the cultural competency. I think that, as we are more of a global world, I'm interested in seeing how candidates can work towards that and like what that looks like in the future. But thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been a joy to chat with you. I
Oh,
feel like you have
lovely.
like such a wealth of knowledge, and I just feel like we scratched the surface.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you again for having me. It's always great to have a moment to chat about what's going on in the world of work. Thank you, Anita, for having me today.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me on Looks Good on Paper, powered by Willow. If today's 3-question sprint gave you something new to think about, hit subscribe and share with your network, because in hiring, and really in life, it's never just about what looks good on paper.